In this video, we're taking a look at Go Collect's hottest comics for the week of November 4th. Hot MCU books continue to remain hot. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video with Swaggle. And in this video, we're taking a look at Go Collect's hottest comics for the week of November 4th. Now, for those who don't know, Go Collect puts out a weekly article that analyzes the hottest selling comic books based on volume of sales and movement on the market. So like I like to do on Mondays, let's take a look at the list and see what's trending. But before I get into the video, if you guys could drop me a like or comment or subscribe if you're enjoying the content, help support the channel, do one of those things, I would appreciate it. You guys know the drill. This list always comes out every week, and it is always written by Matt Tuck, so I will put a link in the description if you guys want to do further reading. But it's really an interesting list this week because what we're seeing is a couple repeat books. Two of the books on the list this week are actually repeats from the last 2 weeks since I've done this list. And I don't know why, but Matt decided to only have 4 books on the list this week. Usually he does 5. This week there's only 4. Maybe it's because there was a bunch of ties at the 5th spot, or I don't know what the case may be. But regardless, we have 4 to look at this week, but they're all still some good books, including the ones that have been on this list multiple weeks in a row. But we got to talk about the number 4 book first. And this one, of course, is one that you guys are all going to be familiar with. This is SpiderMan number 1, up 55 spots. And what is the significance of this? Well, this, of course, is the Spider-Man run from 1990, done by the Todd father, Todd McFarlane. And I kind of feel like, I don't know what it is about this book, or maybe the PR with Todd McFarlane as of late, but it feels like Todd McFarlane is everywhere right now. I mean, you got all this stuff going on in the NFT world with Todd McFarlane. He's got a lot of his statues. Like, people are actually referring to them as Todds, in the NFT space. You got McFarlane doing a lot of stuff in the Spawn universe. You got a lot of his, interesting developments with, Image right now and how they're doing the Spawn covers with like these kind of exclusive printed numbered counts. You got Todd McFarlane creating a new production company. There was that book that got, optioned recently that was hot in the market. You got a lot of people speculating that maybe we're going to get a Spawn film soon. So there's been a lot of Todd McFarlane in all of the comic book community's lives right now. And maybe that's one of the reasons why this book right here, Spider-Man number 1, got hot this last week. I mean, on top of the fact that, of course, we have the next Spider-Man film coming out, so maybe there's a lot of nostalgia to Spider-Man keys overall. But this is really, honestly, one of the most iconic covers of all time. I mean, I feel like that pose that Spider-Man is doing is one that has been homaged so many times. Like, this is one of the all-time, classic Copper Age books. And what's funny about this one is I very specifically remember this book coming out in the 90s and being a kid walking into a shop and getting my hands on this thing and thinking about how this was promoted as this collector's item, right? You can see right there on the top, first all new collector's item issue. And what's funny about this is that even though this was printed into the millions and, everyone kind of memes on, all these books being dubbed collector items as being totally worthless and ones you can find in dollar bins. But the ultimate irony of this whole thing, the gimmick stuff in the 90s, is that it's really starting to, in this current era, it really starts to ring true that these are collector's items. I mean, the fact that they dubbed themselves collector's items back in the day, and now we're all a lot older, a lot of nostalgia for these things. It really does make us feel like we want to collect them. It really does make all the people, who are in the era that grew up in that Copper Age nostalgic for these items. So it's really funny that we're all sort of starting to want to get our hands on them, and that these are actually starting to, gain in sort of monetary values. Now, I do think that some of these are actually more valuable than others. And this one right here, Spider-Man number 1 by Todd McFarlane, I actually do think is a great book to own in this market. I mean, I think that this is always going to be a book that is, if not recognized for its significance with regards to it being a certain time in history, is always going to be cherished because of the cover alone. On top of that, it has the thing going for it where there's a bunch of different covers, so people like to collect all of the various ones that relate to this one. You also have issue number 13, which has him in the black suit. So this is just one of those great books that people, it feels like it's a must-have in every comic book collector's collection. And for that reason, it is one of the hottest comics of the week. And as we dig into the numbers for this one of the things I think is really interesting is that I just noticed here, there's actually 13 10.0s on the census. I mean, it's really funny to think about what is it about those books that garnered a 10.0 rating. Like, I would love to see those issues and see why CGC decided to make them 10s. But you can see for the 10.0, fair market value is $10,000. I mean, that's pretty crazy to me to think about that book being a 10.0. But I also can understand why, maybe a passionate, rich collector would want to have that book for that amount of money. Additionally, you can see here, there's actually 85 9.9s, fair market value for those being around the $1,100 range. So really interesting to see that there are so many 9.9s and 10.0s on the census. Perhaps these are just books that, when they were printed, were already anointed as being like the perfect copies or whatever the case may be. I don't know why CGC decided to rate these ones this high, but hey, interesting to think about how there's 100 books on the census that are higher than 9.0 grades. And then of course, down here at the bottom, you're not going to see it slabbed 1990 book, but typically speaking, when you go onto eBay, you can find this thing around the $20 range or so. All right, let's go on now to the next book here. And the third hottest comic of the week is a very cool one. This is Amazing Spider-Man number 375, up 56 spots. And what is the significance of this? Well, this, of course, is the first appearance of Anne Weying, who, of course, is the ex-wife of Venom. Eddie Brock, I think it was played by Michelle Williams in the Venom film. She would later go on to become She-Venom. And this is one of those books that, got hot recently with the news of Venom, and everyone was kind of looking at this one as a minor key, kind of like what I was previously saying with the Spider-Man number 1. This is also in that 90s era where it had sort of these gimmick covers, and like where these things were kind of dubbed as collector items, because this one right here is kind of a gold foil cover, and it's it's a very cool one. I mean, it's one that features Spider-Man against Venom. A lot of people are always going to love these types of covers with Venom on it, and this is a book that feels like it's never really going to go away. I mean, I think everyone's going to always sort of appreciate this one as a nice little minor key to have in your collection, or maybe people are deciding to move this book now because now that we're on the other side of Venom, people want to sell their copies and get rid of them because nobody cares about Venom keys anymore. Or maybe it's the opposite. Maybe people are like, hey, this is the time to buy them. We're going to get more Venom in the MCU. Spoilers here, but it feels like in the post-credit scenes with Venom number 2, there's an insinuation that Venom and Spider-Man are going to have a movie connection later on in the future. So a lot of people feeling like this is still an important book to have. And kind of like what I was saying with the Spider-Man number 1, I think that this is still going to be a book that, people have a nostalgia for. People are always going to want to have this minor key in their collection. And it's always going to be a great book for that reason. And in case I forgot to mention, this, of course, is a book that came out in 1993, was written by David Michelini and drawn by Mark Bagley. And as we dig into the numbers for this one, we'll see that there are 9.8s on the census selling fair market value around the $160 range. And then down here at the bottom, of course, 1993 book, so you're not going to see it slabbed at the low grade. All right, let's go on now to the next book here. And the next book is actually one that was on the list, I believe, 2 weeks ago. This, of course, is Moon Knight number 1, up 50 spots. And what is the significance of this? Well, of course, you guys know by this point, of course, you'll know that this is the first Moon Knight ongoing series written by Doug Moench and drawn by Bill Sienkiewicz from 1990. This, of course, would also be Moon Knight's origin story. It would also be the first appearance of Khonshu, who is the god that bestows the powers onto Moon Knight. It's also the first appearance of Bushman, who, of course, right now is rumored to be one of the villains in the Moon Knight series on Disney Plus. Still don't know if that's actually going to be something that comes true. But if we are to suspect that the Disney Plus series is going to be following the origin of Moon Knight, it goes without being said that they would probably take inspiration from this book here. And for that reason, this is a book that has been really hot in the market as of late. And, not to belabor on like some of the stuff that I said in the previous video where we talked about this book, but I do want to kind of point out, I made a video just this last week talking about Disney Plus Day coming out. I believe it's actually going to be this Friday that we're going to have Disney Plus Day. And in that video, I kind of speculated that there was going to be, perhaps the first time we're going to see images or trailers for the Moon Knight show, on top of the fact that we might see images for stuff for She-Hulk and other Disney Plus shows. And there's been kind of murmurs within like the news blog sphere that we actually are going to be getting some images later on this week. So I think for that reason, this might be one of the reasons why this book is moving so much, is that there's been a lot of anticipation that maybe we're going to see Moon Knight, the first images of the first trailer this coming Friday. And you know what that's going to do to the market market. Everyone is going to be, moving on this book. Everyone's going to be selling it, buying it, doing whatever they want to do due to the hype and the excitement of it. And, I went out hunting this weekend. I was able to go around and pick up a couple books. I'll probably have a comic haul video later this week. And I definitely noticed this book in almost like all of the stores and vendors that were, selling comics this week. I don't know what it was, but it feels like, this book is everywhere right now. And, for a good reason. It's a great book to have. And it's definitely one that, I think is going to be one that anyone who's a Moon Knight fan is going to have this book in their collection. And as we dig into the numbers for this one, we'll see that there are 9.8 selling fair market value around the $950 range. I made mention of this number that the last time we talked about this, I was like, this is going to be a four-figure book for sure. Definitely destined to be that soon. And then down here at the bottom, Go Collect's not going to have it slap at the lowest grade. But typically speaking now, when you go into eBay looking for this thing, you could find it being sold around the $70, $75, $80, $100 range or so. All right, let's go on now to the last book here. And the last book is one that was actually, I think, the hottest comic of the last week. And this one, of course, is Fantastic Four number 67, up 61 spots. And what is the significance of this? Well, this is the first brief appearance of him, or the first full appearance of the Cocoon that would house him. Regardless, this is a key book with regards to Adam Warlock. Now, this, of course, is a book that came out in 1967, written by Stan Lee and drawn by Jack Kirby. And, we talked about this book last week and how, the rumors with Will Poulter, or not the rumors, the confirmed news that Will Poulter was going to be playing Adam Warlock. This, of course, was announced by James Gunn, that in fact that rumor is actually true. Caused the market to, erupt in enthusiasm for Warlock keys. So everything's been moving. Thor 165, Marvel Premiere 1, Warlock Infinity Watch 1, all of the Warlock books. And this one right here is no exception. Fantastic Four number 67, first full Cocoon and first brief him. And, I think one of the things that, makes maybe this book so exciting is since we got that tease in Guardians of the Galaxy number 2 at the end, the post-credit scene showed the Cocoon. It feels like, all roads are going to go through this book. No matter what version of Warlock we get. Like, it doesn't matter if Warlock's going to be the villain. It doesn't matter if they're going to call him Warlock in the movie. What we can all assume is going to happen is that we're going to have a moment where Adam Warlock actually gets out of that cocoon. So all roads kind of go through this book, no matter how you slice it, no matter which key you think is the most important Warlock key to own. It feels like this is the one that we're going to get in the MCU. At least that moment is one that we're going to get in the MCU in Guardians 3. But this is the hottest comic of the week for those reasons. And as we dig into the numbers with this one, we'll see that there is a 9.8 fair market value on the census for this one. It's around the $25,000 range. Down here, like, we can take a look at something like a 9.2, which has moved recently. This book is selling at that $23.50 range or so. You can see 30-day moving average 2,900. So, definitely been gaining in value as far as like exceeding the FMV. And then down here at the bottom, Go Collect has this like priced around the, $100 range at the low grade. But now that the book is so hot, now that people are wanting to get their hands on the Adam Warlock keys, this thing is going to set you back, $200, maybe $250, even at those low grades. Well, that is all I have for this video. Those were the hottest comics for the week of November 4th. Let me know what you guys think. A couple repeat books on the list this week. I think it's really interesting. Those Moon Knight things are moving. Those Warlock keys are moving. This might actually be like an occurrence that, goes on, or a trend that, continues for, the next few weeks or so, especially since that it is my suspicion that we're going to get that Moon Knight trailer later on this week. And it's also my suspicion that, we're going to get more and more announcements with regards to Warlock, and the Warlock keys are going to be something that, is constantly in the face of the comic collecting community. Anyways, that is all I have for this video. Drop me a like, comment, subscribe if you're enjoying the content, and I will see you in the next one.